What is going on? I hope you are well. We've been a little spotty here lately, but that's all good. Life has just been busy. Today we're going to have a little Smoke Wagon small batch. Been a long time since I've visited this bottle. We're going to see if it is as I remember it or if it's any different. Also going to talk about the Word. Welcome to Whiskey and the Word, episode number 7. Going to keep today pretty short. It was actually inspired by a song that I heard in church this morning, and I record these on Sundays, release them on Wednesdays. So yeah, going to have some whiskey, going to get into the Word a little bit, going to talk about some song lyrics that really hit me in church today. Usually that's a really big flag for me to pay attention when I'm singing a song and I have to stop singing because it's starting to hit me in the heart. So we're going to talk a little bit about that, and we're going to talk about how your kids don't always know what's best for them. Kids are going to be kids, right? And inevitably, they think they know what they want. They think, my daughter, she can tell you exactly what she wants. She's 13 years old. She pretty much knows everything in her mind. But as a parent, I can look at some of the decisions she's making and try to steer her in a different direction, or try to point her in a direction that I think will lead to the better outcome that's actually better for her. And it doesn't always feel like the best thing for her, to her, I'm sure. A lot of times I think she's like, oh, Dad doesn't know what he's talking about, or, he's just being old and, whatever. She is a respectful kid, but she definitely has a strong will, and she is very, she really likes to press towards the direction she thinks she's going to go. And how many times do we do that with God? How many times do we think we know what's best for us? We don't need any help from anybody. We certainly don't need any direction from God or anybody else. And we're going to go headlong in the direction we think is the best for us. Then things end up not working out, and we get frustrated. Oftentimes find ourselves in pain because of it. Sometimes it's emotional pain or physical pain or financial pain or relational pain. We have a bunch of different kinds of things. But we do the exact same thing with God that our children do with us. And it blows me away that even though I know that I shouldn't do that, I still do it all the time. Literally all the time. So it's just a way in which we're wired, and the drive to want to push towards what we think is right or best for us. I don't think that's a bad thing, but I think having reliance on plans that might be bigger than our plans is a very important thing to keep in perspective when it comes to just living life and also in our relationship with God. So I'm going to read Romans 8, and where am I at here? Let me see. Lose my place here. So Romans 8 talks a lot about a lot of different things. A great chapter. But in Romans 8, verse 28, it says, "And we know that in all things God works for the good of those who love him, who have been called according to his purpose." So if you're called according to his purpose, which technically we all are, but if we're living into that, then it says, in all things, everything, God works for the good of those who love him. Doesn't mean everything's going to be good all the time. Just like with our children, some of the things they want to do, some of the things that they wish they could do, we know that it's not the best for them as parents. It's the exact same way with us and God. And I remember I heard somebody, a pastor or preacher, said one time, one of the worst things that could ever happen to anybody is them getting everything they ever wanted. Like, how many times looking back on your life can you think about things that didn't work out that led to either growth with you, or maybe it led to something ending that needed to end so that you could step into a new beginning? It happens all the time. So I love this verse. It says, "And we know that in all things God works for the good of those who love him." And we know. Erin has this thing with her mom, my wife Erin. Her mom told her a long time ago, what do we know is true? So in situations where emotions can start to get the best of you, where it might be easy to lose your head, either emotionally or maybe lose your temper, something like that. What do we know is true? And oftentimes this is used in a relational context. I know my husband loves me. I love my husband. You know, I know we're going to be okay, whatever. But it's just the context of what do we know is true? And in this, oftentimes, when things don't feel like they're going good, when they're not working for the good, we have to know that it is to God's plan, not necessarily to our own plan. So with that said, that's worth raising a glass to. Cheers. Interesting. Like I said, it's been maybe close to a year since I've revisited this. Very interesting. All right, I'm going to ponder that while I share the lyrics from the song that hit me in church today that inspired all of this. It's by Red Rocks Worship, and the song is called Good Plans. Really well written. A little bit of Psalms 23 inspiration in here, which is awesome. But the lyric that caught me, and it's really, me just reading it, isn't going to make the most sense. I would recommend going and listening to the song. I'll put a link in the video description below. But the chorus says, "He has good plans. He has good plans for me. So I will take heart in deserts and gardens." So whether it's dry or whether it's in abundance, if it's a season of doubt and wanting, or a season of plenty, I will take heart in deserts and gardens. He has good plans. He has good plans for me. If I know my Father, I know my Father has good plans. That is such a good way to put it, and it ties in so perfectly with Romans 8:28. If I know my Father, then I know that my Father has good plans for me. And there is so much peace and comfort that can come through that, even in the face of adversity. It's such a reassuring, beautiful, beautiful position to live from, to show up in the world every day, to face the challenges that we may face, to just know that God's got us and it's going to work out for the good, even if it doesn't feel like it's good right now, even though it's not promised to be good. That verse kind of gets skewed to say, well, it says things are going to work for the good. That's why I started with the analogy of our children wanting something that they don't need to be doing. Your kid wants to stick a fork in a light socket. Just because they're curious, it doesn't mean that's the best for them. Just because your kid wants to do this, that, or the other, it doesn't mean it's the best for them. We have to own that in our own behavior and the way that we show up in the world and our relationship with God. And I just love that. I think it's a beautiful thing. It's very simple, but oftentimes the gospel is very simple. Christianity and religion wants to complicate things, but it's not really complicated. God's got us. Let's rest in that and live out of peace and joy from that. And part of the joy in which we get to live is enjoying things like this, if you can do so responsibly. So, Smoke Wagon, small batch, 100 proof, MGP sourced blend from Smoke Wagon out of Las Vegas, Nevada. I don't think there's anything else to be said about this. Beautiful bottle. I mean, it's got all this like decorative embossing and this kind of emboldened or embossed stamp right there as well, wax seal stamp. So this is smelling, it smells a little corn forward, a little funky, and a little sweet. A little bit of like a fruity type of sweetness. Almost like an apple skin type of note. Much the same on the palate. Leads a little bit more with that corn sweetness. And then that apple skin type of note. A little bit of spice throughout and on the back end. Pretty classic bourbon profile that maybe skews a little bit more towards like the fruit side, but not in a candied type of way. Like I said, more of like a fruit skin. It's fine. It's probably the bottle itself is more worth purchasing for the way that it looks than it is actually for the quality of the whiskey inside. There are other things out there that, are maybe around that 100 proof point that I would lean to. But if you've never had it before, it's definitely worth picking up just to have the bottle. I mean, it's gorgeous, but you're also not missing out on anything, I don't think, if it's not in your market. I know it's a lot more readily available than it used to be. And as with any whiskey, things will vary by batches over time. They don't specifically say the batch number on here, I don't believe. I've never seen it before, but it will vary by batch a little bit. Just the nature of blending whiskey, you can't replicate it. Will some of them be amazing? Probably not. Will most of them be pretty good? Yeah, probably. I think this is a $50 bottle in our market, last I checked. And that's fine. I'm not mad at it at that price. I'm also not rushing out the door to buy it at that price. So, it's a fun bottle to have, a fun bottle to share. Just thought it would be a fun bottle to revisit for this, because that's the joy of whiskey. It keeps for a long time, so you can revisit it and have fun with it. With that said, I encourage you this week to go forward, knowing that God's got you, even if times are tough. Find joy and find peace in living in that truth, and a lot of things take care of themselves after that. So, cheers. See you next week. Have a good one.